Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 233. I trust you're all doing well. Had a great week, just like we did here at WRP. I want to thank you all for tuning in, taking time to listen. Especially want to thank the many of you who reached out this past week and noticed that there is a new website up. Yeah, that was a long 5-month process. Actually, took years and years, but that's as I kept looking for someone else to do the work, and I couldn't find anybody who wanted to tackle the mess. And so I had to do it myself, and that was a labor of love. But I appreciate it being recognized and so many of you reaching out. So thank you ever so much. For those who haven't checked it out, the one thing that is very important about the new website that I put a lot of TLC into is the search engine. There's an hourglass or a magnifying glass top right corner. It searches just my database, and it is much more robust than it ever was before. So it's there to help you any way I possibly can move your photography forward. Hey, piece of trivia that I was thrilled about, just share with you. Back on February 2nd, I posted the first photograph I took here at the ranch, the pileated woodpecker. And while we think we heard him, we never really saw him until finally, again today. Just a piece of biological trivia. I put out a new feeder for the pileated on Friday. You might be saying, another one? Yeah, well, you can never have enough, I guess. But I did some research and reading it. They need to have a tail rest in order to use a feeder effectively over and over again. That's just a really long board. You can buy them really expensively. I just took a piece of limb from one of our trees here on the ranch and screwed a $3 suet cage to it and hung it. Hung it on Friday morning, and we thought we saw a sign in the suet that had been nailed by pileated, but didn't see the bird, so, it's just a guess. But today we actually saw him eating it. And this cool thing that you actually read about some biology and then put it in action and see it happen, well, it's pretty darn cool. Hey, I want to thank my good friends at Bedford's Camera, bedfords.com, for sponsoring the Moose Podcast. Heard from a couple of folks this week who actually went to Bedford's, and you go to a place somebody recommends, and you say you're going to save money, and people are used to a $5 or $10 savings. And this one real nice email came in, and the guy said, "You're right, you do save real money." He saved over $300 on his order. That's serious cash. And he said, and besides that, they're really nice folks. And that is Bedford's Camera. They're really nice folks. They are very knowledgeable. They have a ton of inventory. And if you use that special code, MOOSE, you will save real money. So make sure you check it out, bedfords.com. And at the same time, tell them thanks for sponsoring the Moose Podcast. Well, I want to get right into this week's topic, which came from Julie this week. Julie sent a really sweet email, and I'm really grateful. Thank you, Julie, for sending it. But she kind of said, can't you just go click? Can't you just go click? Well, the rest of her email was concerning and covering a number of my previous podcasts where I talk about storytelling and thinking and a lot of stuff. And she wanted to know, can't she just go out and take pictures and not really think about all that stuff and just go click? And I said to her, yeah, you can put it for P for passion, just take pictures. And she liked that, P for passion. She's heard, P for professional and those other things. And of course, I'm talking about the program mode, which is just P. But when I said P for passion, that really clicked for her. And so she went off and she was quite happy. But as you might imagine, I'm sitting here nursing a bottle of whiskey as I sit here and think about, oh, Lordy, what have I done? Have I got a bunch of people thinking so much about thinking they're not clicking. That could be a problem. That could be a serious problem. And just to make sure that we're all on the same page on this, I want you to make sure you understand that it's got to be fun. I mean, this photography thing, it seriously has to be fun. I went to a place called Brooks Institute of Photography in Santa Barbara. And there was over 60 people who started out with me in that first class. And it was all said and done, there was only 2 that went into the business of photography. That was the attrition rate, which always really just shocked the bejiggers out of me. And I was like, wow, what had 58 people start something and then not do it, not go into what they thought was what they want to do for their life. And that's a huge number. And that's the only one I actually know of all the trivia when it comes to the attrition rate for photographers. That's it. I'm sure there's somebody, though, who has looked at all these photography forums and they see, so-and-so shows up and they're there for 2 seconds, they're gone, and you never hear from them. And who knows how many people take pictures you never share, but doesn't mean they're not shooting. I have one good friend that shoots a lot, who's incredibly talented. You never see a single picture of his. And he's had some things with life, and that's okay. And he's a great guy, but and he never professed that he was ever gonna, he's a computer whiz. He's not a photographer, but he's still a great photographer. And he still does it, and he still keeps me on my toes with emails. But how many people have actually gone out into photography and hopefully not, but have listened to some of the words like I thought or have said and thought about it, and they go, "Oh my gosh, that's a whole lot more than I bargained for." Right? Because you already have the pressures of camera brands and lenses and speed and learning all this post-processing. And all you want to do is take pictures. I mean, can't you just go click? And of course, you can put it on P for passion, just go click. That is definitely the case. You got to understand that the podcast is coming from my point of view, which is a bit compartmentalized, a bit 40 years of in the trenches, 40 years of trying to help and teach people and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And sometimes I still keep going down a path, and what I do to help people, it just doesn't work and it doesn't click, and that's just the way it is. And my apologies, but you can't just go click. Understand that what I would really love, and my dream for all of you out there listening, is that you share your photographs with everybody. Whatever it is that you take and you put your passions into when you just go click, that's what I want you to share. And in that process, as I've mentioned many, many times, I would like you to grow as a photographer, which means you need more points of view from other folks who are really good at taking, that picture worth 1,000 words and making it worth 1,000,000 words. And that is those professionals I call photo buyers, the photo editors that I talk so often about. But you don't have to go that route to take pictures. You don't have to take any classes. You don't have to do any post-processing. You don't have to do any of those things, because it is about you and your photography. Now, here's the key. And here's the secret. Even back in those days at Brooks, I started that school. I was not even 18 years old yet. And to say I was rebellious and a troublemaker, I think some of my instructors would say that's putting it really quite mildly. I had a mission, which I still have, and that is to share what any wonder I happen to see with as many people as I can share it with. And in that process, grab a heartstring. But that is truly not on everybody's agenda. That's not what their goal is. So you have to take anything I share with you, and you have to filter it. You have to put it through your photography quest, your storytelling dream, your audience you want to reach, and apply those things that work for you, and then disregard everything else. That's really important. I've said it a million times. I'll say it another million times. My goal is not to make a world of moose clones. That's not the goal. My goal is to help you get your ideas in front of other people through your photographs. So if putting your camera on P for Passion works, then that is what you have to do. It's not like if, and, or but. You have to do that. And you have to do it to the point where you can't stop doing that. That's really important. If you just look at what is going around and transpiring in the last 12 months, you can just look at, and I've been watching these things, and it's fascinating, and reading different analysis from the advertising world, that, the upswing in cheerful photography is absolutely horrendous. It's just off the charts. I started off in wildlife. It used to be called black environmentalism because all you saw were photographs of the world going down the tubes. It's really not a challenge. The photograph, the trash in the rivers, the forests being leveled, and the small, it's not, the 6-pack rings around animals, birds' necks. It's not hard to take that kind of photograph. What is hard is to see it all the time, because it's really blunt reality. It's not a celebration of life. It's the destruction of life. Well, the last 12 months, it's been for most people, sadly, a really a heart-wrenching time on so many levels for so many places. How do you kind of get past that? Well, to get past that is to show the celebration, and most people, I shouldn't say most, a lot of people are now showing them with their photographs, whether it's taken from a cell phone or a Nikon D6 or anything in between. And that's what you need to do, is put the camera on P for Passion and just go click. And then you got, sharing that passion, you still at some point have to put it out there. Yeah, there's tons of memories that should go on the refrigerator. But as soon as you put that one out there and you get that one person who sends you an email or a text or a call and says, that photograph really brightened up my day, then the bug bites you. You can't stop but continuing to go click, but you go just click for a much bigger reason, for one that's beyond yourself. And I think that's one of the cool things about photography is no matter your social skills, when you're talking one-on-one or to a group, those photographs you take, they span the social skills, and they simply can say and express things. We might be tongue-tied or put our foot in the mouth or anything in between when we're actually talking with a person. And that's the beauty of photographs. So, Julie, no, you don't have to think about all the things I talk about you should think about. My goal here is to help you improve the most important piece of gear in this photographic game. That's your heart and your mind and how they connect when you make that click. But Julie, just understand that the more you put that camera on P for Passion and just go click, the more you do that, the more you're going to want to be better at it. And then at some point, and when it's ready for you, you will start to think about some of those things. And that's when that foundation of passion will just keep growing. And that's really the goal. Just keep it all growing. And you can't go wrong. You just can't. That's really the beauty of photography. So, Julie, just go click. I want to thank you folks for taking time, giving me a listen again. all the great emails. Hope to see you out there in the field. You've been vaccinated and going to explore the world again with your camera. And remember to make every click your story.